Hello and welcome to Maxim Foods Inside Track. I hope you all enjoyed your Easter, whatever it was you were doing. It's good to have that break and to be back on track for the year, for Q2 of 2023. Let's have a look at what's happening in dairy. So having a look at a broad brushstroke of the market at the moment, fundamentals really haven't changed too much. Supply across the EU, US and New Zealand still relatively good, milk supply, and demand relatively soft to stable. So we did see an uplift in GDT last night, which was positive, which probably saw a lot of buyers come into the market and take advantage of the last 2 to 3 sort of negative GDT results. So obviously seeing buyers seeing good value in the market and jumping in, therefore lifting the prices up. Let's have a look at whole milk powder. So whole milk powder was a plus 1% result last night on GDT. As mentioned, the fundamentals of New Zealand milk, although coming into winter, it's still reasonable year on year. So supply is good. Demand from China reasonably healthy, which is holding up that pricing, and the periphery markets, Southeast Asia, North Africa, etc., probably weren't as active. However, it was a good result for processors, being a plus 1%. Moving across to skim milk powder. Skim milk powder, as we all know, has been very bearish over the last 2 to 3 months. Seen some consecutive percentage decreases on the GDT. In the EU, yes, things still seem relatively bearish. Supply is quite abundant and demand quite slow. Same in the US. And in New Zealand, we did see a very a large uptick last night of 7% on the GDT, which probably saw a lot of buyers needing to buy short term and jumping in, therefore spiking the price up. So whether there's more momentum in that skim pricing for New Zealand, Australia is yet to be known. However, it was promising to see that uptick last night. Having a look at butterfat globally, so in the US we still, things are still reasonably tight, and out of all the global markets, pricing is probably the most firm out of the US, because demand is reasonably strong as well, domestically and into South America and Mexico. In the EU we still see a pretty bearish situation, so pricing drifting off as supply increases coming into the season, and demand still relatively soft. In New Zealand, much like the skim, we saw a good uplift in AMF and butter last night on the GDT, which meant that there is buyers seeing value in where the price is at the moment, jumping in. Like the skim, the question mark will be on how much momentum is behind that, but there probably is a bit more momentum in butter because of New Zealand coming out of their season and inventory running a bit lower into the winter months. Moving across to cheese. Cheese has been a hard one to pick. It's probably the best performing of the dairy commodities over the last 2 to 3 months. In New Zealand and Australia, cheese is still reasonably stable, cheese pricing. Demand still good, retail and food service wise, particularly in Australia. So cheese pricing remaining quite firm. In the EU, cheese, as you know, has been very bearish, along with butter in recent months. Doesn't seem to be a lot of improvement as demand continues to drift off. In the US, yeah, it's been a hard one to pick. There's been a lot of volatility. We have seen in recent days an uptick in demand out of the US for cheese. So yeah, it seems the most balanced of the commodities at the moment, with a relatively firmish outlook for Australia and New Zealand. Having a look at whey powder. So whey powder on the protein side of things, a bit more of the same. Yeah, relatively bearish out there. Demand slowish and supply quite abundant. So pricing hasn't really changed over the last sort of two to 3 weeks. If you're having a look at sweet whey powder, we're seeing some positive signs there of the market firming up. So demand looks a bit better for whey and lactose, and that pricing correcting itself. So a much better outlook for the next 2 to 3 months for whey or sweet whey. Thanks very much for listening to today's Inside Track. Like we mentioned, it will be interesting to see over the next few fortnights or few months whether we see a directional change in the market, or whether this last sort of fortnight activity and demand was more people just diving in and seeing value in good prices. So yeah, interesting one to see, but we'll keep a close eye on it. Have a great fortnight, and we'll see you again soon.